Unfortunately, I'll leave more unsaid. This whole image has everything to do with a Jesus and math. What? 0 times infinity. Huh? Stupid, ridiculous. It's like when people talk in physics woo-woo about all the quantum entanglements, right? And it's just like, but please, if you've made it this far, 32 seconds, 33 seconds, 34 seconds, 36, 37, 38, 40 seconds, you've made it this far. If you've made it this far, let me appeal to your mathematical mind first. Bertrand Russell and one might say his semi-successor, Wittgenstein, we're trying to philosophically build the idea that mathematics was built off of logic. That's a dead issue. Logic is linear. It's not only linear, or rather it's not Cartesianally linear, but it's linear. It's a dead issue. Mathematics is multi-dimensionally geometric. The best logic can ever do is be the positive x-axis of natural numbers. Period. Which is a great achievement, so I don't want to take anything away from either natural numbers nor from what Bertrand Russell and Wittgenstein. I don't want to take anything away from what they did, because it was beautiful, and it was deeply involved with the situation that needed and still needs to be wrestled with, and we're wrestling with it. The truth shall prevail. Just because the moon wanes today doesn't mean the moon will not wax tomorrow. People are always talking about be in the now, be in the now, be in the now. Yes, great. But if you pretend there isn't a past that is true, locked down, and if you believe there isn't a future that is true and locked down, so am I denying free will? Not at all. Heaven will be the omega point, the end of history, the end of all histories. Or at the very least, a threshold that is crossed. And once it is crossed, perhaps not everything that came before will cease to be, but there will be a magnificent shift, a harmonic shift. A bit like, when a jet breaks the sound barrier. Phew! A threshold has been breached. There's an explosion. What was before is no longer true. The equations invert. We are in not people say we're in an inflection point, and that's true, but we're not just in an inflection point, we're in an inversion point. The thing is, the equation is so long that we don't know exactly where the inversion or series of inversions will occur. At least most of us, not me. I have a hunch. I have a feeling for it. I see a little bit. It is my belief, with a capital B, that there are those among us, because they've proven it to me, who actually know what's going on. I wouldn't say they dare not speak it, or they dare not speak it. When we think of that, when we think of like, they dare not speak the truth, we always think of it's because there's some maleficent force. It's like, those who know the truth dare not speak the truth, right? But, or rather, so we think, those who know the truth dare not speak the truth. Yes, there is that, yes. But the truly wise, the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, etc. The tippity top, they know the real truth, which is, if you literally united with the goodwill of the cosmos, aka God, born from the mother of God, Mary, I'm sorry, I've had a Marian moment and it has distracted me from what I was saying. Maybe I'll leave it as a non sequitur and we can simply carry on with what I was going to say. All of this was impromptu. Yeah, I gotta get to what I'm getting to. Maybe I'll come back to it. Mother Mary, man. Mother Mary. So yeah, this keeps getting differenter and differenter. I actually liked it a couple videos back, but I did some colored pencil, like I did some light blue colored pencil on it, sprayed it with some clear finish lacquer. It's a satin finish, so it's shiny in the light, which I don't like. I'm thinking I'll buy a little, like one of them mini spray paint cans of like maybe a clear matte finish to spray over it. But anyway, I sprayed it with that so I could color pencil it without effing with the marker, and then I hit it again just to make it consistent, even though I don't necessarily like the sheen. But yeah, I spray painted both sides twice, and that's when I thought it was dry, I folded it together and then I pulled it apart, and apparently it wasn't dry right here. But I like how here I have the Lost Army, and like somehow in the process of spraying and folding it smeared Lost, but we still have the Army. And then when I was thinking of Lost, you know, if you bring it down to like, not to the Hebrew language, but to the Hebrew linguistics, kinda, sorta, at least symbolically, where everything are, where the language is all consonants. So if we pull out the consonant of the O, which is the most smeared object, right? And this was an accident. Now, I'm not saying this is like anything special. I'm saying that I do consider these things that happen in my life. So this type of thing that I'm showing right now, it's not like the biggest thing that's happened in a day or in a week. Like 100, 1,000 things happened like this today. It just so happens like this is one instance where I can be like, right, if we believe, all right, whether or not we believe in God, as people normally think of God, which I do and don't. Because I know I have a truncated vision of what that is, but I know that is. but it's like, if we believe like the world is alive, see, that's the thing too, like, because there's a difference between Christians hammer on atheists, Christians hammer on pagans and panpsychists, right? But Christians are essentially monotheists, not only monotheists, but primarily, predominantly, Trinitarian monotheists. What? Bonkers. That's a philosophical, mathematical nut you gotta chew on for years. They say bubblegum. If you eat a piece of bubblegum, it sits in your intestines for 7 years before you digest it. Well, that's not really true. You poop it out the next day. But perhaps some of the residual anti-mojo sticks around. Man, I keep getting off the point and taking tangents. So now I've left behind several trails of thought that I will never conclude. They were such good stories I could have told, but circumstances have truncated those lines of thought. And now we're back to this. 0 times infinity. Come on, man. 0 times infinity. Right, I guess what I have to say to mathematicians, which was the whole point that I made this video, and especially if you're religious and mathematical, and you don't even need to be that mathematical, just a little bit, with a little bit of curiosity, and let that curiosity build over the course of several years. Think to the things you know now that you didn't know 3 years ago, especially if you're middle age, or if you're late youth, or middle age, or early senior, or early seniority, if you're in, if you're from 40 to 60, think of things that even 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the way you thought about things to the way you think about things now. But anyway, in math, like, 0 is accepted. Infinity, unless you're talking about infinitesimals, right? Unless you're talking about calculus, Leibniz, Newton, 2 different calculuses, 2 different nomenclatures, 2 different, they used different symbols, and the symbols we use today incorporated another mathematician's symbols. So, but also these guys, it's all kind of mixed up a bit. But it was a way of trying to make shapes speak to what's actually going on in the world. And they succeeded. And it's funny that, for Newton especially, it's funny that, most of what Newton wrote about was alchemy and religion, but he's famous for what he did with physics. And the most famous guy since Newton is Einstein, concerning physics, but no one Einstein didn't do it like Newton did it. In 1,000 years, I'd say these days, Einstein is more famous than Newton. I'd say in 1,000 years, Newton will be more famous than Einstein, especially once the next Einstein comes about who actually geometrically fixes the discrepancies between the theories that Einstein popularized. Yeah. But anyway, 0 times infinity. Mathematicians, right? Math is the queen of the sciences. I think that's what some people say. Maybe people say physics is the queen of the sciences. I'm not sure if that's what people say, but if people say that physics is the queen of the sciences, I would say no. Physics is the king of the sciences. And mathematics is the queen. We need a queen, man. We need a queen. We need Mother Mary. One of the things people don't realize, I'm just going to say it straight. God's want for Mary was the impetus. God has free will. We have free will. God has free will, and God was the first soul to have free will. God was the first soul, singular thing, to have free will. And God had free will in complete darkness, in complete blackness, in complete unstructured eternity. There was no spiritual realm. There was no physical realm. It was just all of us there. Souls are eternal. Souls are eternal. All our souls existed with God, even before, quote unquote, before. It's kind of like before the Big Bang. How do you even talk about that scientifically? Well, it's the same thing with God. Before God, how do you talk about that scientifically? Another way of thinking about the before the Big Bang is that it was just simply an instant. There was one instant, like the first frame of everything, except it wasn't even a frame. It was like the notion of a frame, the shadow of every frame that never was, that all would be, right? Before God, before the Big Bang. It was just a notion, and that notion was a question. Am I? There are two answers. I am, and I am not. Why is God God? Because when there was nothing, no one, no comfort, no shelter, all swirling, unstructured craziness, blackness, psychosis, complete disarray, all souls entangled, not knowing who's who. Am I me or am I you? God took the position with no one to lean on. I am. God took the position with no one to lean on, with no one to look to, with no role model, with no father, with no son, with no mother, with no daughter. Wait! What did God create? Mary. God's want for Mary is what created the universe. When God said, I am, what did God look toward? God looked toward a dream of Mary. God looked toward the dream of Mary. That's why I like this image about the 0 times infinity equals 1, because in mathematics, that's it, man. If you're talking about logic, if you're talking about science, if you're talking about philosophy, if you're talking about anything that can be quantified, anything. And that's when, see, that's the thing too, because now, well, we're talking about engineering. That's one type of mathematics. And then we're talking about, set theory. That's another type. Then we're talking about universal hyperbolic geometry. That's another type. Another. But then we get into stats and probability and all that, and there's wiggle room. But there's also wiggle room in Poincaré, because he wiggled away from that fifth postulate in a certain way. Did he though? Mathematics has a problem with infinity, but no problem with 0. But 0 is... For some reason, it's easier for us to think of nothing. I don't have. Like, 0 makes sense. Like, I got $0. I can't buy shit. We recognize that. But infinity... But that's the thing. When you have $0, you have infinite... As long as you're still alive. Like, you could have $0 and then drop dead. But wait. When you have $0, I mean, it's happened to me. I don't want $0. The lower my money gets, the more stressed I get. I'm always living on the edge, But mostly because of the choices I make, I feel like I get paid more than enough to live responsibly. There's more to it than that, but. I'm still here. Still trying to tell the truth. All that comes out of my mouth is garbage, but if I talk for 10,000 hours in 1 minute, truth spills out of my mouth, and that's all that's remembered of me, then it's all worth it. Right? Yes. But anyway, yeah, like 0 and infinity, like, we understand 0, or we think we do, but like when we understand 0 because it's like, I got no ketchup. Shit! I cooked my burger, I cooked my fries, I got my pickles, I got my lettuce, I got my tomato. Man, these fries, I seasoned them up, I battered them up, I fried them like this, fried them like that, I got onions in that shit. Delicious! Then you open the fridge, right? You're licking your fingers. Just made that burger. Open the fridge. No ketchup! It's like 1:30 in the morning. It's like, fuck this shit, man. I got burgers. They're warm. It's like, how am I going to keep this shit warm? I got to go get me some ketchup, So it's like, okay, I'm going to put the burgers in the pan. I'm going to wipe out the pan first, get that grease out. I'm going to put the burgers in the pan. I'm going to put a top on the pan, put it in the oven, turn it up just a little bit. Them fries will keep down there. Put a lid on the fries. I ain't got a big lid enough to cover what the fries cooking on, but I'll put the lid I got on that's metal made. Bang! And I'm going to run down the store half naked, with a pocket full of change, to go buy me some ketchup. So yeah, 0 times infinity equals 1. We're really comfortable with 0. Yeah, 0. We're really comfortable with 1. Yeah, 1. But infinity, it's like, Argh! But another way of thinking about infinity is just like a number we can't count. The biggest number in the universe. They say the universe is infinite. Is it? Or is it infinitely reflective? And if it is infinitely reflective on the scales that we know the universe participates in, then because we're acting at such large scales, reflections wouldn't be simultaneous. Reflections would... If the universe was reflective and not infinite, if we're inside a mirrored sphere that is discombobulated, so like if we're inside a mirrored sphere that is a bouncy ball, but there are pressures exerted on the surface of the bouncy ball such that the mirror inside kind of bangs around, kind of like the inside of a Jamaican drum, you know, so there's all this. If the universe was like that on the scales that we're talking about, then even if our galaxy was the only galaxy in the universe, and there's a big mirrored sphere around our galaxy, and it was bent in a certain way, all those reflections off each other, they'd reflect it, but it's at such a large distance that it would look infinite, and it would look like infinitely different things, because every reflection of us would just be looking at us in different points of time, because it takes light years for the reflection to happen. And then that reflection bounces off the other reflection, and both of those bounce off the others, off the others, off the others. So all of a sudden a reflection isn't just like a mirror here and a mirror here, and it's just like boop, boop, instantaneous. In the same way, when if I were to take a mirror and put it behind me, right, and it would just look like this string of whatever, but as I move my hand, the hand would like each iteration of me would do it just slightly slower. And that's even over just a short distance. Now imagine that over a galaxy with a bent mirror in a funhouse. Why is it bent? Because our free will is bent. You get that fucker round, we'll still have free will. If we do shit right, see, that's the thing, man. People think, oh, if we do shit right and we hit perfection, well, then what? Well, then what? Then it's like, I won't go there. It's just a threshold of perfection. And there will be a new threshold that's even harder to reach, but we will be more well equipped to reach. That's the goal. But yeah, the big thing is that mathematicians, so comfortable with zero, as if zero is. Think about it. Zero. Zero? Yeah, if you're doing accounting, if you're doing positive x-axis natural number accounting, yes. Infinity is absurd. But see, accounting isn't mathematics, right? Now, I'm a big believer in natural numbers. I'm a big believer in rational numbers. We do have to do better with that. I have to. I probably won't live long enough, but you might. And some of you, at least one of you might be the one, will. Congratulations. You might have been the reason I was born, just so I could tell that to you today, whatever day that is for you in the future. Glad to meet you. I wish I could see you as you see me. Well, I mean, like, well, and another interesting thing, because this really is a rational thing to consider. It has everything to do with like the alpha and the omega, because numerically the alpha and the omega is 0 and infinity. You could say 1 and infinity, but if you say infinity, you have to say 0. In English, it would be I am the A and the Z. I'm the alpha and the Z. I'm the beginning and the end. I am that I am. Before you were, I am. But also, 0 divided by infinity equals 1. And also, infinity divided by 0 equals 1. And also, you could give it the Peter cross. People think this is a satanic cross. It's not. St. Peter was hung upside down. Stop being stupid. Wow. Alright. Here I am, the dumbest, stupidest, biggest idiot ever born, telling people to not be stupid. Wicked sorry. Totally sorry. Super sorry. Dear sweet God, forgive me. But what I mean is, like, only in the last several years has this been associated with Satan. Somebody's trying to pull somebody's leg out there instead of speaking the truth. The truth is, St. Peter was hung upside down. The upside down cross belongs to St. Peter. Jesus said he built his church upon this rock, Kephas. End of story. Not end of story, but like, you know, problem solved, case closed. Okay. But anyway, then you could do 0 times infinity equals 1. Or infinity times 0. 0 times infinity equals 1. Infinity times 0 equals 1. 0 divided by infinity equals 1. Infinity divided by 0 equals 1. Grapple with that. I wouldn't say like grapple with it really hard today or anything, but let it be a curiosity, a meditation, a rational meditation, as a kind of meditation. In the same way, basil is a kind of food. These seasonal meditations, these flavonoids, philosophical flavonoids. Maybe, I don't know. So I was going to start off with just the first few verses of the Bible. Genesis. It skipped over so quickly. But the first 3 verses, Genesis 1 through Genesis 1:1 through Genesis 1:3. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Brutal. And no one enters into the philosophy of this. Now, I'm just going to break it down with English. I'm not saying this is like, I'm not saying what I'm about to say is any way definitive or anything. I'm just saying this is the way I tackle the problem. So like you could write a book on these 3 sentences, 3 verses. Books and books and books and books and books. But like, break it down in the language you see it in. So I'm looking at the King James, right? So I could break that down just by itself. And that's not a bad place to start, because I speak English. Then once you've done that, exhausted that, or done that a little bit, then you can go into the Greek and the Hebrew and the Paleo-Hebrew, and on and on and on and on. First word, King James Bible, 1. In. Not at. God was in the beginning. In the beginning. Or, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning. So the beginning was something God could be inside of, which either means that the beginning was bigger than God, or it means that what comes after that state, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So God created the heaven and the earth. It doesn't mean God created the heaven and the earth at the beginning, because God is in the beginning, or in the beginning God. See what I mean? I guess what I'm saying is, the beginning itself had to be either bigger than God, such that God could be in it. So I'm trying to break down the grammar. In the beginning. In the beginning. So God was in the beginning. God was in the beginning, or in the beginning God, which means God created the heaven and the earth. So the heaven and earth were created in the beginning, which means the beginning. Okay, if the beginning precedes God, God was in the beginning. That's one way of looking at the first word in the Bible. In. The first number, 0. The first number, 1. What's your answer? Got to wrestle with it. In the beginning. So God was either in the beginning, or when God was doing the beginning, which had a certain amount of space, a certain amount of time, however big, however small, all that it matters is that it wasn't eternal. Because before creation, eternity, the Alpha, eternity before the creation is everything, all of us, all of our souls. Souls are eternal. We were there with God then. If we expect that we're going to live for eternity in heaven, it means we're eternal. Just so happens I don't necessarily believe I'm going to get to heaven. Still hoping. It's a long shot these days, but it's the only shot I got, so I'm going to take it. A big old fat fucking Hail Mary, man. I'm going to give it everything I got. And I've never been able to throw a spiral, except for a couple times. And I'm hoping the third time is that day. And I'm hoping if it's not me and I don't get there, I hope and I pray and I know. You can get there. I hope you get there. I pray you get there. What I'm saying is there might have been more shit going on in the beginning. Because it's not at the beginning, or the beginning was, it's in the beginning. Now I'd have to look back upon, the Hebrew, the Paleo-Hebrew. I'd have to maybe dive into some Egyptian and Sumerian and some Ethiopian shit to fucking see how I felt about all of it, As I read it, as it's come to me, as it's come to the world, in the beginning. That's verse 1. 2. And the earth was without form. Without form. No platonic solids. No polygons. No BO. No boners. No stars, no suns, no light. Shit. Not even hydrogen. And the earth was without form and void. No space. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. Darkness was upon the face of the deep. Darkness was upon the face of the deep. And this is the heavy part. Like, if we only read that much, it's like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Pretty good. Not bad. It's like you're kind of on the fence about it, like, this is either going to get total shit, or yeah, maybe it could work out good. Then the next line comes. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And the Spirit of God, right? So, the earth was without form and void. So the earth was waters. But waters in a spaceless place. In one point. In the initial, people talk about the singularity these days. The technological singularity mostly is what people talk about. It's still fringe, but it ain't cringe. Actually, it is. The technological singularity, to me, is cringe, but I guess it's still at the forefront of, today's conversation. Yeah, the singularity of singularities is that eternal point from which God itself, God's self, emerged from. Who's God's parents? Mary. That's it. If you were God and you asked yourself, where did I come from? There's only one answer. Mary, the woman I made. God's job, God's want, God's success, what God wanted. The whole purpose for God's life, so to speak, God's soul, God's individuality. You can say God is being itself. Yes and no. because God is an individual, and beingness isn't commonly imbued with the quality and the quantity of an individual. One. God is an individual. God made a choice in a place with zero choices. And that choice was, I am. And every other soul has been given the opportunity to witness that statement. I am. I witnessed God saying, I am. And at every moment of every day in my life, I can either affirm that statement of God or I can deny it. And I don't even know all the time. Sometimes I do. But I don't always know when I am denying or when I am affirming God's statement of I am. Because my understanding, like God says I am, and God is, and everything is. It had to happen. Because we were there with God in eternity. God's I am statement is the creation, is the beginning, is the act of bravery, complete wantingness of mother, of wife, and daughter, if we consider God the Father. Is God an androgyne? I don't know. But if we're speaking in westward words that have yet to be resolved, people are trying to resolve them these days. We're a long ways off. We'll get there eventually. Anyway, I trailed off again. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. God created the earth. Formless and voidless. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So we're thinking of like heaven and earth. And the earth was without form and void. So God created a formless void that is earth. 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 So far as we know, the only place in the universe, right? We live on Earth. Make no bones about it. We are the most important thing on the earth. Like, don't be a fucking idiot. Of course we are. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. We're the miracle of miracles on this fucking planet. And this planet is the biggest fucking miracle of all the planets and stars and everything in intergalactic space that we know of. This fucking planet is the fucking miracle. And we are the miracle on this miracle fucking planet. We're the miracle of miracles. We are the miracle of miracles. We are the earths of the earth. Everything out there, like, this is one of those things, man, like, you want to talk about calling it? Well, first of all, God made a covenant with Abraham. And Abraham's religions, the three of them, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, is the biggest. Abrahamism, those three religions, they all came from Abraham. God said, your kids are going to be like stars in the sky, sands on the beach. The most powerful thing in the universe that we know of is a human fucking being. And more human beings in the world are tied to Abraham than anything else. Except for things that, like, we all have to be tied to money. We have to be. We don't have to be tied to Abraham. We can say no, walk away. Somewhere between like 1/2 and 2/3 of the world. So we're looking at a solid 4 or 5 billion people in the world are at least loosely ascribed to Abrahamism. Looks like God called that one. 4 billion, 5 billion people on behalf of Abraham. The most powerful force, the most powerful constituency, the most powerful covenant. Not just theoretically, physically. What people choose to do with their lives, with their hands, with their emotions, with their motives, with their minds, with our reason, with our mythology, with our story, with the logics of our story. With our fables, with our fairy tales, with our digits. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void. That's a puzzle, man. God created, the heaven and the earth. Well, the earth was without form and void. He doesn't say what heaven was. When God created the heaven and the earth, in the beginning, not at the beginning, not the beginning was, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Yeah, we just breeze right by it. Yeah, Bible in a year, da. Which, don't get me wrong, that's all way better than me. I'm the biggest piece of shit on the fucking planet, bro. And the earth was without form and void. Oh, okay. Man, we gotta crack that nut. How do you expect that? That's a key. You don't know what that means. Oh, that's nice. Dude. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Darkness. This is the Bible, by the way. So when they say darkness, daughters blowing their dads and fucking, God sacrificing his son and everything. So I think when it says darkness, I think it kind of means it. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Waters. And the Spirit of God, not God. 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 God? Piece of God? Part of God? A third of God? Moved upon the face the face of the waters. So wait. The waters were already there. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Heaven and earth. No water. What is it? Earth, air, water, fire, ether. Wait, earth, air. No, wait. Earth, air, water, fire, ether. So it depends on how you define heaven. It tends to be defined as ether. Pleroma. Actually, I don't know, man. Maybe heaven is the sixth element, but in any case, earth is not the waters. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Where's this deep? Is this deep in heaven? Is this deep on earth? Wait. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Ooh. So, dude, I struggle with these sentences. I've been struggling with them for a few years now. Face of the deep, face of the waters. Okay. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God, the zeitgeist, the want, the humors, the humility, the character, the persona, the God's sense of God's self, God's sense of God's self, the Spirit of God. Because we ain't talking about just any old spirit of any old individual. We're talking about the Spirit of God. There was nothing. And God dared to say, I am. That was his first thing he said. And then after that he said, so are you, 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 so are you. I'm sorry I'm using the male pronoun. It's just part of the colloquial vernacular. I'll never live long enough to shed it. Good luck to you in the future if you can do it. I am. So are you, 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 so are you. You are, you are, you are, you are. And all of us, when God says, you are, we either say, I am, and pew, or we go, no, I'm not. The thing is, every second of our life, God is just lightning bolts. You are, you are, you are, you are. He's always, sorry I said he, answering our prayers. Though I understand that, alright. So in the Catholic Church, it's God the Father. So if I'm like saying, it's not the Father, then everybody in the Catholic Church is going to be like, heard it. But I totally respect God the Father, man. I totally respect that. I'm just saying that, like, because some people who deny the Father deny God. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to, on a 10,000 year time scale, I'm trying to evolve the conversation. We'll see if I get there. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. Heaven, earth, deep, the waters, light. That's pretty damn good for 3 sentences before the Bronze Age. Pretty damn good. And yeah, mathematicians shouldn't be afraid of this kind of thing. And needs to be dealt with, needs to be mulled over, needs to be meditated upon, prayed upon. And it's not so bad to just make a little doodle. I preferred it a few days ago, to be honest with you, but this is where I came to on it. So I gotta take it like it is. It'll have to do. It's better than a sharp stick in the eye. It says something. I'm sorry for where I failed. And I hope and pray you're having a good day. And I hope and pray that if you're not having a good day, take a nap, get comfortable, do whatever it takes to just let it all go. Collapse. Maybe right where you are. Just collapse on the floor. Just lay there. Cry, laugh, wriggle about. If you don't have anything, if you don't have food in the fridge, then I'd say maybe pray with those prayers you've been holding on to. You ain't got nothing, so you can't buy nothing, so you can't do nothing. Maybe that means for you today that God is saying, pray on the prayers you've been praying on, but pray them all the way today. Maybe. Sometimes that's what God says to me. I don't usually deal with it well, but I've dealt with it well a couple times, and that gives me enough to say that much. But if you're having a bad day and you do got food in the fridge, maybe eat it. Just take a nap. Chill the fuck out. God's giving you the resources to just check out today, so check out. If you can't check out today, check out in a different way. And if you can just check out today if you're having a bad day, check out. But there might be a few of you who are having a bad day who'd say, oh, actually, everything's fine. And I can flip it in my mind. Good for you. Awesome. And there might be those among you who are actually having a good day. We should celebrate people's good days. Because we, as people, contribute to the good days of each other's lives. A good human day is the best thing in the universe that we know of. Like a good day, whatever a hike, family, friends, some food, novelty, a day off, leisure, or maybe even a really good day at work where you really accomplished something, like you worked really hard, but like you were never thinking about like how dirty your shirt was and like how much you stank, or it was just like, gotta do this thing, gotta do this thing, right? And you did it. That's a good human day. Sometimes when people do that, they're like doing something that won't ever amount to shit, or is maybe even a waste of time or bad for them, but they felt good about it, right? Well, it's still kind of great, you know. But then sometimes when someone feels like that, they're a Tesla, they're an Edison. People pit Tesla and Edison against each other, but make no bones about it. The novelty I feel today, the things I've learned, the things I enjoy today. Not that they're all great, but it comes from both those guys. A good human day, so far as we know and can agree upon, is the best thing in the universe. So, if you had a good day today, we've won for you today. And if you haven't, we could pledge that we will work for your better day tomorrow. And if you're like me and you know bad day, like I know bad days for me are ahead. I guess for all of us, or at least almost all of us, bad days are ahead. But let me still work for good days to come. For souls. For God's family.